G'day, thank you for purchasing the Lyric Video Creator Kit 3. I'm going to show you how to install it first before we even get started. So if you've got your Essential Graphics panel open over here, or if you don't, all you have to do is go to Window and go to Essential Graphics and make sure that is clicked open. And then it'll just be here. And you'll have local templates and just your general libraries here. There's two ways you can do it. Now the easiest way is probably to do it like this, where you just drag the Moget into your folder and it'll be there for you. I'm not going to drag it in right now because I've already got a copy there, which you can see right here. Otherwise, the other alternative, and this is the method I prefer, is to go up here to the plus button and go to add additional folders and then navigate to where the Lyric Video Creator Kit is, put it into a certain folder and just choose the folder. Oh, it's in here obviously, so just choose this folder. And so once that's already done, as you can see, I've already done it, you go to local templates and you just click the folder that you just added and it'll be right there. And what's great is that if there's ever an update and you just have to replace that folder, it'll just automatically go in here. Like it'll just be here for you to go. Right here I've got the free version and the black bars as well. All right, let's actually go over how the Moget actually works. So I'm going to create a new sequence here. I'm going to make mine 1920 by 1080 at 25 frames per second, but you can choose whatever you like. I'm just going to call this Lyric Video Test and we'll press OK. Now we'll just drag this out of our Central Graphics folder and onto the timeline. And let's see what we've got. So up the top here is where you can replace your text. So you can insert your own text here. And if we press play or press spacebar, you can see it'll be right there. You can change your font to whatever you like up here. Let's change this to something a bit more, let's say Avenir. It's a different font. You can choose the weights of your fonts. You can also change the different types of styling here as well. We've got a scale control, so you can see here it just changes the scale. We'll just reset this back to 100. We've also got a justification here. Oh, we've also got the position left and right and up and down as you see fit. We've also got a justification here, so if you want to put things on the left or on the right, things will justify that way. We've also got the various animated templates here that you can use. Obviously go through and have a go at some of them. I'm going to go through some specific ones later, but these are all fairly self-explanatory. Hopefully I won't get too many of you emailing asking what each of them do, but hopefully they've been well described so you understand. But feel free to just go through and play around with some of them. As you can see here, there are a few that say center only, which means that there's no justification for the left and right. It's just only in the center. So as you can see here, this one, smash, only works in the center, and likewise echo accent only works in the center as well. Now we've got the fill color right here, so you can change this to whatever color you like. Let's maybe pick something a little bit more tasteful, maybe more like a tealy color, one of my favorite colors. All right, there you go. Now we've got a new section here called the Typography section, which allows you to basically control the stroke and the fill separately. You can have them both on at the same time, or you can change the fill color to something completely different. It's set to white at the moment, but you can set it to something a little bit nicer. You can also change the stroke size, and the stroke will always be behind, so apologize if that's not what you want, but that's what we've set it to. Alternatively, you can just turn off the fill altogether and just play around with the stroke on its own. So there we go. Now we've got leading here as well, which we didn't have in the last one. If you want to control how the text between things is spaced. So as you can see here, you can actually control how things are spaced if you like that. Because, you know, sometimes you just want things to be slightly spaced or closer together, who knows. We've also got tracking here, so you can allow you to actually space the tracking. Of course, if the leading is not to your liking, you can just go auto and that'll just automatically just do what you're doing, and you don't have to worry that overrides that button completely. But if you just like to do your own leading, which I do, you know, just leave it as it is, and we'll just set it back to 100 and I'll just leave that there, but there you go. Let's go to the texture section. Now this hasn't changed much from version 2, but for those who don't know, basically all you have to do is just turn on this, and there's a gradient over the top as a default. You can change the color of the gradients here as you like. Let's make this more of a sunset kind of color. And we'll go that. And let's go a bit more warm. There you go. And as you can see, it's all kind of at the top there. You can actually kind of move this around if you want the gradient to be slightly different. You can also flip the gradient if you like. You can also make the gradient a little bit smoother too, by just expanding the gradient here as it is. And then we'll just move this down. You can kind of see it's a little bit nicer there. So you can play around with that. We've also got a spotlight, which just sort of adds a little vignette on the text itself. Let's create a kit v3. I'll just put it back on that. So you can kind of see there's a little vignette there as well. Let's see. It should be 0, shouldn't it? I thought it looked a bit wide. I was like, why does it look so wide? There we go. That should be 0 in the typography. There you go. We've also got camera shake. Instead of actually you typing in the numbers, I've just given you a couple of presets here. So we've got the subtle one, which is more like a subtle camera move. We've got crazy, which as you can imagine is quite crazy. We've got jitter, which is more like a film gate kind of jitter. It's very hard to see, but it's there. And then we've got Madman, which is, as you imagine, is just all over the place, like an earthquake. Now to the effects, we've got a glow, just a standard glow, and you can dial that in. It's sort of set at something that I think is tasteful, but of course you can overdo it, or you can underdo it, depending on how you like it. And we've also got a skew, which allows you to skew the text however you like. I personally like it around -6 is my favorite number. And you can also play around the skew axis if you want to make it, you know, more, for example, like tilted like that, for example. We've also got a neat new feature called the color shift channel, and it's probably not so obvious here, but it's probably not so obvious on this because it's blue, but if you go to white, it's a lot more obvious. So there we go. Yeah, it's a lot more obvious on the white than it is on anything else, but so that's there, and you can actually blur the channel shift if you like. Set it about 2 or 3, but if you don't want it on, just turn it off. And lastly, we have the box effectors. Now these are pretty fun if you want to just do some titles and stuff like that. These are kind of cool. If you want to put a solid behind it, and that's set at 0, but you can that's set at 68, but you can put it up to whatever number you like for opacity wise. And what's great about this is that they automatically resize. So let's say, for example, if we make this a double line, it'll just resize according to the thing. And that's kind of fun as well. And what's even cooler is that you can affect the leading, and it'll actually, you know, see how it just resizes? How cool is that? All right. And it'll even, the skew even affects the way that it looks as well. So I like to do this where you set the skew to -6. You know, that's kind of a fun thing to do. And, you know, like that. And it works with most of the presets. Not every preset can embrace this, unfortunately, but most of them will embrace the thing. Like one that doesn't embrace it is obviously the circle. And these border ones, which we'll go through very shortly, but yeah, some of them don't embrace it, but most of them do. I would say 99% of them embrace the box. So that's kind of fun. I'm going to show you some of the templates that are not so easy to understand from first look, but I'll just show you what I meant when I designed them. So this one is so most of them are pretty straightforward. You can see it's just sliding in. These are all the transitions in mostly. But for some of them, they're not as obvious. So I'll just go through some of the ones that are not as obvious. So the one that, this one here, slice center only, as you can see in this one, it just, nothing happens and then it just slices in half. So how I was designing that was, I thought, okay, that's more like something that happens at the end of something. So let's say we do this and we go, we animate it on here. Now, here's a really weird quirk with the templates is if you shrink it, the animation does something weird, and I don't know what it is, but it speeds things up, and I don't like that. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to in order to preserve the speed of the animation at the beginning, I just go to where I want it to end and then I cut it. And that seems to preserve the speed of the animation. Even if I drag it out, that seems to preserve the speed of the animation. I couldn't tell you why. That's just the way the Mogets are designed. Anyway, you do that and then you drag this one, which is exactly the same, to the end. And then you do that and then you follow on from that particular animation. So that's kind of fun, huh? So that's what I had in mind when you it's sort of a way to emphasize the end of a clip, which is kind of cool. Now another one I want to show you is a circle. I've dragged a new instance of the template onto the timeline. So I'm just going to go to circle and I'm just going to press enter and you're going to see how this animates. Now for this one, you can't cut it in this. I know I just told you to cut it if you want to preserve the animation at the beginning, but look what happens when you cut it. It just stops or it does something weird to the speed. I don't quite get how these templates work, so don't cut this one. If you're going to use a circle one, that's the only one you don't want to use the cut on, so you can preserve the speed. Anyway, we'll go back to this. Now, with this one, you can actually adjust the scale, but it doesn't actually adjust the scale of the circle, just the scale of the letters themselves. And what's kind of fun with this one is you can use the leading to actually, the tracking to actually fill in the circle a bit more. So in this case, I've done it like this, so it's a little bit easier to kind of you don't have to have the full text, because I think in the previous version it was kind of it was too far away, so you had to figure out the text, how much text you had to put in there. But now it's a lot easier to kind of get the text in there to be able to almost match up to the middle. Likewise with the reverse one, all it is just going in a separate direction, so just be aware that. But what's kind of fun is that if you have an idea, you could just, we're going to go to the normal effects here, and we're just going to shrink this one down so it's like inside the other one. So that's kind of what my idea was, that you had one guy in one direction and the other one going in another direction. Yeah, just to kind of, make it a bit more fun. All right, the other one is the border one, which is also like this. And obviously this one would benefit from being a little bit longer, so I'm just going to cut and paste a few more of these lines in here. Oh, that worked out perfectly. So yeah, you can kind of see that's kind of the intention of this particular one. This only goes in one direction, but But what's kind of fun is that, yeah, you can just muck around with the typography and make it whatever you like. So everything gets affected exactly the same way as everything else. It's kind of fun. And lastly is the triangle one, which is exactly how you imagine it. It just comes in a triangle. Now there's probably too many lyrics here, so we're just going to back off a little bit here on the amount of lyrics we have. But yeah, that looks okay, I think. But you get the general idea. So those ones are a little bit more quirky, but you get the general idea of how those are supposed to work. Now the next ones I want to show you are pretty straightforward in terms of what they're supposed to do, but I'll show you the intention of how I design them. So echo accent is pretty straightforward. You just, it just bounces on and it does that, which is pretty cool. And that's, I think, a really good way to do it. Let me just make this a little bit bigger. But there's a couple echo accents where I designed it to be, say for example, echo up. So this one comes down. And then the idea was to have another one that if you go echo drop up, well, let's pick echo drop up reverse. This one can be underneath. And so what happens is you have one that goes like this and then one that goes up like that. And finally, if you have gotten this far, I want to show you one little Easter egg that I've put in here. So if you go to infinite scale and enter that one, you can see that, let's actually split this up in two lines, a bit easier to see. It should be more boxy. It's probably more boxy. Lyric video creator kit 3. And then the idea is that let's make another copy and then we'll drag this one over here. And if we change this from infinite scale to space crawl, we can put our own text in here and then we can kind of do our own version of, Star Wars maybe, just for gags. So there you go. Thank you so much for watching this quick tutorial on how to use the Lyric Video Creator Kit. Please send me anything that you guys have done. I would love to see what you guys are creating with the kit so far. It's been a wonderful experience showing this to the community who really have embraced this, and I'll always appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.